The ever-popular Mazda 323s, over 10,000 on New Zealand's roads. So, who drives them?
Ooh, 323, that's me. Well, it feels so fine, fine, fine. Feels so fine, fine. Feels so fine, yeah. Gotta make it mine, mine. 323, yeah, 323, that's me.
Satisfied people drive them. So, which 323 is you?
Welcome coaches and players to the 7th and final session of the Mazda Lawn Bowls coaching series. First up, we have an interview with the New Zealand Test team, followed by national selectors Kerry Clark and Stan Sear. You will not get a better opportunity to hear a panel of New Zealand's top players give their views on the game. I suggest you listen carefully to their words of wisdom. A special welcome to viewers. I am John Murder for the New Zealand Bowling Association, inviting you to join us in just one of the Mazda coaching series. Today we are privileged to have with us 5 of New Zealand's leading bowlers. An added bonus to follow will be the presence of Mr. Kerry Clark, President of the International Bowling Board, Chairman of the New Zealand Selection Panel and also a past international player. I am sure you are all familiar with the faces, but just in case, it is my pleasure to introduce them to you. On my left we have Peter Ballas, Kevin Darling and Morris Syme, and on my right Ian Dickerson and Rowan Brassey. Just before we start the session, I would like to thank the panel for giving so generously of their time so that you, the viewer, may gain valuable knowledge straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. The format is that I will direct a question to each member of the panel. They in turn will give their individual views, after which we will pass the question back to the panel for any further comment they may wish to add. Our first question is to Peter. Peter, as a player with a copybook delivery technique and also attention to detail such as holding the bowl correctly, etc., it is obvious that you place great importance on this particular aspect of the game. What would your advice be to a new player in developing a consistent error-free technique, and why?
Well, John, I think for any new player who's starting the game, obviously he's got to get some coaching to start with, and there are certainly a number of manuals out, and I think Mazda has one very good one out at the moment. I think as far as delivery is concerned, it's important to keep it simple and do the correct things. The holding of the bowl, certainly keeping the fingers along the running edge, straight back, straight through on delivery. And I think it's important that you groove your delivery, that it's the same every time. And if you can do that, then you can make the adjustment. So it's important to do everything the same each bowl you play.
Our next question is to Ian Dickerson. Ian, as a top exponent of the shots in the game, you have obviously spent a lot of time in perfecting this area. How would you advise an aspiring bowler to go about improving their game in the shot play area? Ian.
Well, John, the shots up to at least ditch weight come really from the draw play. In my own practice, I basically am practicing the draw shot, but when a head develops with 2 or 3 bowls that allows you to perhaps play with a yard to ditch weight on one hand, then I play the shot. And the reason I only do it in that way is that not only is it important to develop these shots, but it's important to only play them when it's the right shot. And so simply to practice a running shot to a bare jack, I don't think is a good thing. You develop heads through practice and draw play, and then you add the weight according to the situation.
Morris, it goes without saying that practice makes perfect. You obviously have done just that. What is your advice to bowlers on how to organise constructive practice and how often?
Well, John, with practice, in my own case, I practice maybe 2-3 times a week for approximately an hour a day. What I think new bowlers have got to do is get out there and practice the draw shot. But for the bowlers that have been playing for 3 or 4 years, then shot play comes into their category of bowling, and they've got to practice the shot play. And I believe once you've been playing that long, you should know how to draw the shot. So I think you've got to practice the shot play as much as what you can practice the draw shot.
Our next question, of course, is to Kevin Darling. Kevin, we know that the terms backhand and forehand. Do you think a bowler should concentrate on just one, or should they work at becoming proficient at all shots of the game on both hands?
Yes, John, I think that we should learn all the shots, but no such thing as follow one up and one back. I think that learning the forehand and backhand is a very vital thing in life. in the bowls. And in leading for a fours, if you can find a hand, but comes to singles where you've got to play both, one hand's no good. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kevin. There is no doubt about it. Once again, we come back to that age-old saying that any player that can only play one hand is only half a bowler, and that is a very, very true saying. My next question is to Rowan. Rowan, we often hear the saying, once again, better to be a good lead in a good team than a good skip in a poor team. What would be your advice to a new player with regards to what areas of the game they should concentrate, particularly in the early stages of their bowling careers?
Yes, John, I think the secret to start off with is you've got to get in a good team, and that helps you a long way. But the main part about leading is to try and get consistent with throwing the jack and drawing to the jack. And leading sets up a game for a fours team, so your job is quite important, being a lead. The biggest part of the game is concentration. Just got to keep concentrating, don't let things disturb you, and just get on with the game, I think.
Right. Thank you, Rowan. And once again, we come back to that thing where we've got a specialist. We haven't got an individualist. We've got a man who's specialising in a position and has done extremely well. He represents New Zealand, and of course, the reason being is because he's such a good draw player.
No, I'd just like to add there. I think it's important that the lead doesn't try and get the shot all the time. I think this is where some leads fall down. They think it's their job to get the shot. It's important to get bowls on the head, as Rowan said, and fours play especially. Everyone's got to do their job to allow the back end players, and certainly specialist leads like Rowan set the seal on many a game.
The drive is one of the easier shots of the game. The fact that it is so often poorly executed is surprising. Why do you think this is the case? First of all, Peter.
Well, I think that probably one of the faults of most New Zealanders, and I include myself in this, is that we often try to drive too fast. And when that occurs, often technique suffers. And the reason you miss is basically because you're doing something wrong. If you keep to the basic techniques of stepping in the right place, straight back and straight through, you really can't be too far away from target. Unfortunately, we all like to go as fast as we can, and often that's where problems arise. The arm gets dragged back out of the line that it should be on, and then it's got to come back on it somewhere along the line if you're going to hit. And so I think that often slowing down of speed and getting timing right, and it's often the timing factor. It's amazing how quick they go when you just time the bowl away. But it's important that you keep the technique right, and you've got to practice it, and often the drive is not practiced particularly much, and often it's at bare jacks, and that's one of the hardest things to hit. And I think, like all other parts of practice, that you set up heads to practice at. Not very often in a game you have to hit a bare jack. There's normally some bowls around it. So I think it's important that you practice it correctly, and of course it's a confidence thing. If you're hitting well, and it means that generally you're drawing well, and it obviously has an effect on the opposition. If they know if they're going to get in close, they're going to be belted off.
Any further comment, gentlemen?
Yes, John, I think many bowlers, when they're in trouble and they're going to drive, instead of picking out a bowl that's going to do the most damage on the head, what they usually do is just sort of, well, that looks nice and easy to hit, so they just get down there and don't even concentrate of picking out a bowl to aim at, and they just aim at the bunch, and half the time they miss it altogether. So it's just lack of concentration, and you've got to find the best bowl to do something with, I think.
Right. Ian, would you like to add something there?
Well, I think Rowan just hit the nail on the head. Like all other shots in the game, you've got to be concentrating to play the shot properly, and just to release anger by deciding to have a swipe at something's crazy. And I find it particularly difficult, in fact, to concentrate on a wide range of shots at one time. But you've got to do that, and particularly with the drive, if you're not concentrating, you lose your rhythm. You're not going to hit what you're going for. I'm very fortunate in my club. I've got a very experienced coach to help me in that sort of situation. I don't feel at all humbled by asking someone what I'm doing wrong. If something feels wrong or is going wrong, it's done all the time in golf. It's done all the time in most other sports. And I think bowlers who have had some success are perhaps a wee bit too backward in coming forward. When they feel something's wrong, you can't see yourself playing the bowl. You know something's not right. Ask someone who plays with you or who is an experienced coach what looks a bit different, what they think you're doing that you don't usually do.
Yep, good. Thanks very much, Ian. Rowan, would you like to add to that?
Yes, John. Well, sometimes when you are playing and you're not thinking about things, and you can twist your fingers around, and bowls will wobble up the green. And it's good to get somebody to watch you and just to see what you're doing wrong and sort of point things out. If there is a club coach around, he'll point it out straight away to a new player or a player with a bit of problems.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. What about Kevin? Kevin, you'd like to add to that?
Yes, well, I think in bowls, no one's got the perfect delivery or anything like that. I think that everybody's got a fault. If you want to keep on going in bowls, you've got to go and ask, and the coaches, they've been trained to do the job, and I don't mind going ask anyway.
Thanks, Kevin. And Morris, how about you?
John, I think that when a person has got a problem, and I think we all get problems during any one season, I think the thing is you're not to be humble. You've got to go and do that. Ask someone to watch you, pick out the faults that you're making wrong, and so that you can do something about adjusting.
Thanks, Morris. And Peter to finish.
Well, I think it's been covered. We don't make enough use of our club coaches, and the sooner we do, the better our game is going to improve as far as standards are concerned.
Gentlemen, unfortunately our time is up. On behalf of the viewers and myself, I would like to thank you for being a part of this presentation. To the viewers, never before have you had the opportunity to receive such first-class advice from such a panel of top bowlers. The message is clear. Get it right, then get out and do it. This is John Murtagh for New Zealand Lawn Bowls and Mazda Motors New Zealand Limited wishing you good bowling. Welcome to the panel, Stan.
Thank you.
Now it's Kerry's turn for a question. To represent one's country is the dream of many a bowler. What is your advice to such a player on how they might just achieve that dream? Kerry.
Well, I'd have two parts of advice to any player representing New Zealand. The first one is that they've got to put time into the game. They've got to practice, and I think in recent times and all the top players we've had have only achieved what they've got out of it through the time they've put into it. The other is that any new bowler coming into the game should study and look at those top players in action, the recognised names in the game, and see just what they do to achieve success. The other and more and important point to any new bowler is decorum and attitude to the game. If they behave themselves and show a sporting attitude both on and off the green, and they've got the playing ability to go with it, then certainly they've got a chance of achieving national honours.
Thanks very much, Kerry. Stan, would you like to add anything to Kerry's remarks there?
Well, obviously they've got to perform and perform well during their initiation period into the game, and of course go along with Kerry that there's a terrific lot of hard work, a lot of practice is required, and they've got to come up with the goods.
Thanks very much, Stan. Well, there you are, players. You've got it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. It's very, very important. You only get out of this game what you're prepared to put in. So don't look for something, don't look for pipe dreams, chestnuts that fall off trees. They don't happen. It's a matter of get out there and get on with the job and do it properly. Our next question, of course, is directed to Stan. Stan, in your capacity as national selector, you spend many hours watching many players. Just what is it that you are looking for?
Well, John, in the first place, we look for performance, or more importantly, consistency of performance. There's not much point in a bowler winning a tournament or two. He's got to be in the last few many, many times throughout the season, and in fact, over a period of seasons. We look for his ability to adjust on different greens under different conditions, rain and wind, and we also look for his attitude to the game and compatibility. I've often said that compatibility in a fours game is worth 4 or 5 shots. And lastly, he must be able to perform under pressure and extreme pressure.
Thanks very much, Stan. Kerry, have you anything to add to Stan's comments there?
No, I think that's in a nutshell. It really is. It's consistency. I always look for consistency. I've seen many players. We used to have an attitude in New Zealand, quite frankly, that a number of players, if you ever won the national singles, you're automatically in a New Zealand team, and that went on for many years. I've never really agreed with that situation. It's performance over a season and over a number of seasons, and certainly the point that Stan makes of the ability to act under pressure is certainly a very important one. Many ordinary player has won a lot of fours championships with a good team in front of him. It's the guy who's got the mediocre team in front of him and continues to win that you're really looking for top position.
Good, thank you, Kerry, and thank you very much, Stan, as well. Players, there it is for you. It's over to you now. Get out there and make it happen. Lawn bowls, like all sports, requires practice. The quality of practice time is more important than the quantity. 30 minutes a day of well-organised, Concentrated practice will help your game tremendously. Make it interesting. Don't become bored with repetition. Start off with the draw until you get the feel of the green. Then branch out and play the shots as if in a game. A set of flapjacks to help improve your shot play skills would be useful. Round off the session with a few drives. You will remember I mentioned early in the series the skills of lawn bowls are perfected on the practice green and not during a match. And now for some do's and don'ts. Care of the playing surface is very important. At the beginning of a game, don't do this, but rather do this. Place the bowls on the green. It is very important that you do not damage the playing surface. And don't do this. But rather do this. Or even do this. Encroaching is a law in the sport of lawn bowls. Don't do this. You are interfering with the players in the next rink, but rather do this. Rushing yourself on the mat can only lead to error. Don't do this. Slow down and take your time. Do this. Your game requires your full concentration from start to finish. Don't do this during a game, but rather do this. It is your match that you want to win. What is happening 3 rinks away is not your problem. The match is over. Win, lose or draw. Don't do this. But rather do this. And now, the path to success. Concentration. leads to consistency, and that will give you confidence to make the necessary correction so that you are in control. Throughout this video coaching series, I have always endeavoured to maintain a simple line for you to follow. The basic mechanics of the sport of lawn bowls are simple, but very necessary if consistency is to be achieved. We the coaches don't make champions, you do. Coaching, just as playing, is an ongoing, living thing. Combine the input from both parties and you are well on the journey along the path to success. The sport of lawn bowls is about people, relaxation and pleasure. Whilst being a highly competitive sport these days, don't forget the fun side as well. Once again, I remind you that if a fault develops in your game, as surely it will at some time or another, don't suffer in silence, consult your coach and bring back that ray of sunshine. Should you require more detailed information and what has been covered during the series, again, consult your VIP, the club coach, or refer to the Mazda ABC for the bowling beginner, the Mazda shot play manual, or the Bowling with Mazda poster which is displayed in your clubhouse. It is now my pleasure, on behalf of the New Zealand Bowling Association, to thank first the film crew, our demonstrator Vic, also the Paratutu Bowling Club and the Vogeltown Bowling Club for the use of their facilities. But most of all, Mazda Motors New Zealand Limited. It is their generous support that has made the Mazda Lawn Bowls coaching series possible. I ask you to support them as they support us. In closing, we all wish you well in your bowling careers. On behalf of New Zealand Lawn Bowls and our sponsor, Mazda Motors New Zealand Limited, this is John Murtagh wishing you good bowling. Bingo! How's that for a bit of Kiwi camera magic? Let's have a wee test on your newly found knowledge. This is an exercise that both coaches and players can participate in. What we're going to do is show you a series of players and their delivery techniques. Some are good and some not so good. See if you can define the errors if and when they occur, and then how they could be easily corrected.
Like a Mercedes with good seats, said Wheels magazine. It certainly has the strength and power. A 3-litre fuel-injected V6 with 4-speed automatic and all the appointments you could wish for. But at under $60,000, the new Mazda 929 V6 hardtop is not a Teutonic status symbol, rather a car of integrity for the quiet achiever. Mazda 929 3-litre V6. It deserves a good long test drive.